All right. I'd like to welcome you to another episode of How I Came Into the Truth. Today, I feel honored to
I feel honored.
You feel honored? I feel honored to have my teacher and a friend, great friend of mine, somebody that took me under their wing, guided me along the way, and is endeavoring and laboring in the vineyard. My brother, Jediah Israel. How you doing, man?
I'm good, man. Blessed to be alive. Blessed to be sitting here.
Yes, sir. Well,
I've been waiting on this.
have you?
All those great interviews, like, where mine?
Right. Well, I want to thank you, man, for taking the time out to share your story with us, man. And as always, I like to give people, like a minute or so just to introduce themselves.
Okay. Well, a minute or so, because I like to talk long.
Yeah,
That's one way to introduce myself. I'm Brother Jediah. I currently live in Philadelphia. I'm not from Philadelphia. Most people know I'm from Detroit. We met in Atlanta, so I live there too. What else about me? I teach the Word of God. That's my life.
Right.
You know what I mean? I'm a father, husband. As you may say, I'm a good friend. I'm an all right friend. You know what I mean? I keep it 100 with you if that's what you want to know,
Right.
But other than that, man, I'm just another brother trying to make it, man.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
That's good. Well, speaking of Detroit, how was it coming up in the city of Detroit?
That's interesting. I came up in Detroit in what we call the crack era. So, and drugs is big in Detroit. And so just the first memories of growing up in Detroit was abandoned houses, crack houses, zombies walking the street. We definitely saw that. But really my childhood was cool though. I mean, I grew up really in my grandparents' house. I had a young grandmother. So I grew up in my grandparents' house, and they kind of kept me as sheltered as possible, from life's craziness out there. I grew up in church, meaning I went to Sunday church every Sunday. I don't think I missed a church. I don't think I missed a day of church until I started playing football on Sunday. I played Little League football. We played on Sundays, and that's when I was able to miss. But really, I wasn't. We had to go to 8 o'clock service. So I didn't even get to miss that. So until I got to high school, I never missed church. That was a part of my social life. My mom and dad split up at some point, so that divides your social life. You might be with them, you might be there. And when I was with my dad, it was a little, I see some things I probably didn't have no business seeing,
Right.
Did some things we probably didn't have no business doing, but, that was that era. But Detroit, I love Detroit. That's my home, and I'm familiar with it, and, it was all right growing up there.
Well, that's and a lot of people take a lot of pride in Detroit, being in different cities now that I meet. They take a lot of pride in Detroit.
Yeah.
But you say coming up in the crack era, right?
Yeah.
So you had 6 siblings.
Yeah.
Were you all at the same house, or?
Oh no.
So
my mom and dad was married. My mom got married. My mom had me at 16. She got married I was born a week after her. And so she got married earlier that year. So she got married at 15. And, so it was me and my mom and my brother. That's it. You know what I'm saying? And my dad. And then I guess they split up when I was around 7 or 8. And so, as most men do, they find a new woman here, find a new woman there. And through the course of time, I ended up having, 5 sisters? Yeah. Well, one of them came after my daddy died.
Oh, okay.
And I say that just to say, like, life is funny, you know what I'm saying? People are products of their environment,
Right.
And until you change either your environment or you change your psyche of what the environment brought upon you, you pretty much fall into that same pattern. So, when I look at my family structure that I had coming up, I realized later, young mom, my father, and when I say this, he was on heroin when I was a kid. I didn't know. I mean, spoons was ended up missing, and TVs might be gone sometimes. So they was just always in the shop. But it wasn't like he would be what you would call a functioning junkie. That's what, you know, for a lack of a better word. But shoot, by the time I was 12 or 13, he disappeared for about 4 or 5 years. Come find out he was at the rehab clinic through the VA,
wow.
you know what I'm saying? And after that, he never touched drugs again, all the way till his death some years ago. I think you remember when he died. About 7, 8 years ago. And when I went to his house at that moment, man, I didn't even know they had this many drugs because he wouldn't take them. But so being you know, in that environment, it breeds where you are in these unstable relationships with women and that type of thing. So yeah, so my pops would be what we call a Rolling Stone. That Papa was a Rolling Stone. That's my song for my man. Just the whole joint. Because you dead, you know how that song start. Yeah, that so, song hits. Yeah.
Well, were you what do you fall in line as far as your siblings? Like third?
Well, when I asked my dad the year before he died, he said I'm his oldest son.
Oh, really?
I'm his oldest child. Right.
Okay.
And then and I believe that. And then a little later, after he died, here comes some other woman, and she's a year older than me, and she gives a whole story, and you know what I mean. She's I would say at this point she's my sister. I didn't officially get it tested, and probably because it doesn't really bother me one way or another. Like, you know, she got enough of a story that it's cool, and you know, I got plenty sisters in the world anyway. So whether you really my blood sister or not, it's not really that big of a deal. I think my mom wanted me to get tested. She don't believe it, but hey, that's life. You know what I mean?
That's expected, right?
Exactly,
that's
but
expected.
You know.
Well, your father, just for the record, and knowing you, your father was in Vietnam.
Absolutely. That's when he got on heroin.
Right. So for people to know, it wasn't like your father just said, okay, one day I want to go out and try drugs. No, that was back then during that time. If I'm not mistaken, from the conversations we had, that's some of the things the soldiers were kind of using for pain and stuff.
I might have told you that. Yeah, well,
and he ended up getting addicted.
Yeah, he told me the story the year before he died. I saw him physically the year before he died, and he came down to see us, me and my brother. He told me he was gonna die then too. He said, "I'm gonna die in about a year." He really did. But he told me how he got on drugs. I don't even know why we had this conversation. Me and my dad, like me and my kids, we take walks. So when we took a walk, it was conversation time, and he told me that when he was in Vietnam, and I'm gonna make this quick.
So if you just to address this, so you and your dad around when you was probably about 38 years old,
right? Yeah.
You and your father had this walk and talk, really?
Yep, absolutely.
That's not too common, and
it's not.
You know what I'm saying? That's good.
Yeah,
that you did that.
And that's the thing that one of the things that we always had was we'll take a walk, and that'll be our. You know, some people do it over the dinner table. Some people, you know, we would go out, take a walk, have our conversations, whatever we really needed to talk about.
Wow.
That's
so
when he told me don't hit women.
Happened.
He told me, he was like, they started bombing the place or whatever, and then next thing you know, they had to go to the shelter, and he 19 years old, 18, 19 years old, never had this experience, and his thing, next thing you know, they passing something around, it was like, here, take this, it'll knock the edge off. Everybody else taking it, he took it. He found out what it was later, and he was hooked to it for a while.
Right. That's kind of like they do now. Now they just illegally give you pain medication,
exactly.
And you get addicted.
Exactly.
You know, so many people addicted. You know, I think it's an epidemic in the world now because of that. They call them opioids.
Yeah, and that's all that heroin is, really.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. So we just have a different form. So it's just like, so I say that because it's not like, you know, brother just wake up one day, like I said.
And I didn't grow up in a druggy home.
Right.
Now, when I look back, I understand some of the places that I went, you know what I mean? And some of the people that I saw, but it wasn't, and I was my dad's partner growing up, so I was everywhere, you know what I mean? But it taught me enough to know life is real, but at the end of the day, I grew up with a set of core values, you know, like the Bible talks about having integrity, and we had a level of integrity, especially coming from the Smiths, and that's my mother's family, you know. And I say that because my dad would always be like, yeah, the Smiths, they some good people. You know what I'm saying? So he probably felt like he had children by a good family. Right. They'll be okay. And for the most part, you know, I'm here.
Yeah. Well, speaking of that, okay, so and of course, you know, me knowing you and your mom, you know, definitely great people. You know what I'm saying? Even your uncle. You know what I'm saying? But you been in Detroit. Now I met you in Atlanta. So going from Detroit to Atlanta, how did that happen?
Initially, Detroit to Atlanta. Initially, I was about to go to high school.
Where?
In Detroit.
In Detroit, okay.
And my mother was like, "You're not gonna make it if you go to high school here. You know, not gonna make it like I'm a fail or something." Because actually, I had got accepted to the best high school in Detroit, Renaissance High School. So I was ready to go. But they didn't have a football team at the time, which made it real easy for her to say, "Let's go to Georgia. You can play football." Wow. You know what I mean? And that kind of was like, because if the school in Detroit would have had a football team at the time, I probably wouldn't have wanted to go.
Well, who was in Georgia?
I had an aunt in Georgia.
So that was our pipeline.
Yeah, I had my mother had an aunt in Georgia. This is mine too. But yeah, so actually she went down there and stayed with my aunt for like 7-8 months. I stayed with my grandparents, which was normal. And then once she got everything settled, right before time to go to school, she moved me on down there.
So at this point, when you came down, it was you and your brother? Okay.
Yep. And
so now how old were you at that age?
About 14.
Okay, so you're still pretty young.
Yeah.
Oh,
and as you say, my uncle, actually that's my mom's first cousin, but he grew up like an uncle. It's my kids call him uncle, so of course, you know. But actually he moved down from Detroit, like maybe within the same year. So he ended up staying with us, which, you know, it kind of helped because we had a male figure in the house, you know what I mean, for a little while, a couple years. So yeah.
Okay, so now let me ask you something. You got more time in Georgia than Detroit.
No.
Or you got, it's a balance.
It's really even because because once I moved to Georgia, I said, I don't like Georgia.
Right.
And so as soon as I could get back to Detroit, I did, and that's what ended up happening. So I'll give you an example. I had Micaiah in Georgia, my first child. I had my next two in Detroit. So I ended up moving back to Detroit.
Okay.
And when I moved back to Detroit, I actually went to the house of Jacob.
Okay, well, but before we get there, so now when you're in Atlanta, you're 14 years old, right? So how long? What was the time span?
High school and college.
High school and college.
Yeah,
right?
I did. I went to high school down there, Clarkson High School.
And then you went to college and where?
I went, and that's when I got in the Word at Albany State University.
Albany State. Now going to school in Georgia, right? What was the background religiously? What was that like being here? Because you say you came up in the church,
right?
So what was that background like here in Georgia?
Well, once I moved to Georgia, and I grew up in the church, so we was at church every Sunday in Detroit, and then not only every Sunday, every Thursday, every Wednesday. We were always pretty much.
Would you call it? Would you say the Holy Roller family?
Not really, but because church is such a business, and my grandfather lived around a corner from it, he was like the chairman of the deacon board. So we were very involved in the church, but definitely not holy rollers. And I say this too, one day we went to church, and this is really a part of me getting in the Word, believe it or not. And we come home from church, and we sit in my granddad's kitchen. He walks in and he says, what he said, that's not what we believe.
How old were you?
I might have been about 10, 11.
Okay, so you got something that's gonna spark.
Yeah, but it impressed me at that age that my grandfather just said, the preacher said this, which is his friend, by the way. Good friends, come to the house, all that, you know. And the preacher, I had one of them hooping and holler preachers. Actually, my preacher was the superintendent of the school at one point, of the school system, you know what I mean? So he was an educated man, you know what I mean? So it's a little different when you in that arena, you know what I'm saying? When you start talking about false prophets, because at the end of the day, it's still a false prophet.
Right.
I mean, it is. I'm sorry for those. When I say a false prophet, just because I know this is being watched and all that. What I mean by that is he didn't have a good understanding of the Bible. He had the best understanding that he could have, and he tried to convey that because what he gave me, or what that church gave me, was the foundation to get me here. And I learned how to read the Bible. You know, when I say I learned how to read it, like I knew where Ecclesiastes and Isaiah and books that we just know like that. Well, a lot of people don't know that.
So you did have that. So he did have some type of structure. It might not have been the truth,
right?
But he did. I guess
his structure got me into the truth because once we moved to Georgia, we couldn't find a church because all the churches was I remember going to Jasper Williams Church. That's
In Georgia.
Salem. Yeah, that's Salem
Oh,
Baptist.
that's in Chicago.
No. That's on the west side over there by Douglas High School.
Okay.
It's called Salem Baptist. Jasper Williams used to be the preacher. I remember going there and I used to like it because he reminded me of my granddaddy's church back in Alabama.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like, you know, that type of preacher. So, because you got to realize, as a kid, you don't know any other preacher but yours and wherever else your people take you to.
Right.
So, you know, we go to Alabama, we got to go to church with my granddad.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so then I see him, so I'm like, okay, well, that's a familiar type of preacher.
Okay.
So but really, we wasn't getting nothing.
Mm-hmm.
And in the church when I was in Detroit, we thought we were getting something, and we were. I'm not gonna say we thought, we were. It wasn't enough,
right,
but we were getting some type of foundation that led me this way.
That matters a lot.
It does,
mm-hmm.
and that's why I don't beat up on Sunday so tough. If you know me, you know what I'm saying. Like, I'm gonna tell you the truth, but I don't try to beat up on it so much because I wouldn't be in the shoes that I'm in today had I not started there. You know what I mean? Right. So, but I still, truth is the truth, and I done seen all kind of craziness in church. So I'm gonna tell it to you like it is.
Right.
But so we go to Salem. I'm feeling the hooping and hollering a little bit, but we already driving 40 minutes to church. I'm like, cool, we don't gotta do this. And my mother was the type that was like, you find a church, whatever you comfortable with, because I'm her oldest son, and she wants us to be comfortable with church. Wow. So we didn't go there. Then we tried Victory. I think it's a church down there, Victory Baptist Church. Mm-hmm. And I think that's actually where New Birth started. I think New Birth and Victory started together, if I'm not mistaken. I'm almost positive. And it was kind of like at the beginning of their split or something when we tried Victory. And then we went to New Birth.
Now, New Birth, for people that don't know, that's the quote-unquote famous Eddie Long.
I was in the choir because Thomas Whitfield, right before he died, was coming down to do a concert. I was in the choir with Brandon and Brian, Brandon and Brian Casey from Jagged Edge.
Oh, okay.
Right, and we went to school together too. But when I say I was in the choir,
they're accessible.
Right,
they're accessible in Atlanta. Yeah.
When I see them,
I see them at the barbershop I go to.
Well, when you see them, you know my government name. You can, if you choose to, you know what I mean, because we know each other like that. You know what I'm saying? And but I say that to say because it's that type of church. Our music director was Byron Cage. Who got music now, so it was, New Birth was, that's why I liked it.
So, well, let me ask you something. If you got there during the split, were you there like before they even built New Birth? So you saw the
small church
intricacies of New Birth?
No. And you want to know why?
In other words, you was there before all the glamour and glitz.
Yes, I was. Okay. But when you say, have I seen the intricacies? Because one of the problems that we had with New Birth, always, was that it was always still like this dude is too unapproachable. And so like
and that was Eddie Long.
Yeah, Eddie Long. Yes.
Okay.
And he was just too unapproachable. I guess I wasn't old enough yet. Because hey, I'm just gonna call a spade, because by the time I started really peeping it, I ain't want to be there. You know what I'm saying? Because I bear witness to the only boys basketball meetings on Friday night. Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, come on, who does that? Like, I get it, but when I say who does that, when you're dealing with a church, you want boys bring girls, girls bring boys, and we talking high school, and you trying to reach the youth. Like, that was a little suspect to me at that time, but I didn't really get to see the intricacies, and that weighed in us getting into the word, because once I went away to college, my mother started going, and she got involved.
Where, over there?
At New Birth.
Okay.
Yep. She got involved in New Birth, and that's really the steps of me getting into the word.
Okay, so at this point, you're at college, right?
I'm away at school now.
When your mom get involved. Now, Sister Latina, who I call mom and most of us do, she went to theology school, right?
Yep.
Now, did she go there before she went to Eddie Long?
Nope.
Or is that what caused her to start searching?
That's what caused her.
Okay, so now how do you and her play in the picture together now?
So my mom is the person that, like I said, her and my father, they divorced, So I became her man. And of course, it's not the Oedipus thing or nothing, but as a woman, you feel comfortable talking to a man about things.
Right.
So I grew up quick, and we always conversated. So she got involved in New Birth. She got into the play thing, like the drama stuff, the plays and stuff. Which, as you know, she done did a play since then on her own. That's her thing. She likes that. And then she, because she got involved with that, she started getting in the ministries that they had. And New Birth had things where you could go to like a type of seminary school that they have, but she wasn't really feeling that when she tried to go. You know, so from there she went to a school. I think it's called Beulah Heights. That's what it's called, Beulah Heights. So that was around maybe 94, 95. So I was pretty much after my first year of college. Between Beulah Heights and I always call him Pastor Shepherd, but a lot of people probably know what I'm talking about. He would come on TV, old white guy. Yeah, he would read the Bible.
Yeah, he would.
He would read the Bible. He might not have a good understanding, but he would read.
Sit behind that desk, right?
Exactly, sitting behind that desk. Yeah. And you know, she would watch him, and she would. So she was like, she wanted to. My mother wanted to know the truth. That's really what it was. And by me being her son, and she saying she want to know the truth, well, I want to know it too. I'm not asking for it, but when you get it, let me know. You know what I'm saying? Like because the one thing always, and this comes back from growing up, the Bible is the true word of God, hands down. Right. So if the Bible does say it, that's why I've been with my wife for a long time, since '93, basically since I went away to college. And I remember we went to go get tattoos together, right? So she got hers first. Because I knew in the Bible, we weren't supposed to get tattoos. Even though it was kind of like, I knew we weren't supposed to eat pork too. Like I knew it was in there somewhere, you know what I mean? Right. But I didn't really know because, you know, that was the Old Testament. And from what I was told, we don't have to do the Old Testament stuff. We go to church on Sunday. Of course we don't. You know what I mean? Sunday's good. It's obvious if you read any piece of the Bible, Sunday is not the day to go to church.
Right.
You know what I mean? You might say it's the day that Jesus rose, but that ain't got nothing to do with what the Old Testament say. But even then I knew at that time, like, don't get that tattoo. You know what I mean? And so I didn't. So, sorry, Raquel. You got yours. Looks good.
But you didn't get that. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, I know, right? That's dirty.
All right, so so clearly you knew it was some truth out there, right?
Absolutely.
So like you told your mom, when you find it, let me know,
Let me know.
Okay, so what happened now? Because you, at this point, you're at Albany State, right?
Yep.
And how old are you?
About 19. Yeah, about 19.
So pretty young.
Yeah, pretty young. 19 to 20 was the transitioning period for her. For me, but for her.
Right.
And so she goes to Beulah Heights, and one of the things they tell her at Beulah Heights is, whatever they told you at church, forget about it. We about to show you that everything that you learned in church is inaccurate according to the Bible. That's what they told her at the Bible college. And I get it now, you know what I mean? And then they begin to explain how the church is structured. She's telling me all of this. Like right after she's hearing it, she's, you know, talking to me about it. And so I'm like, oh, okay, that makes sense. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't trust them. Because really, you got to think, at this point, I've been to a lot of different churches looking for a church.
Right.
And so, you know, I don't trust these men. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's the, you know, like, I'm beginning to see that as I'm growing up. Like, these dudes here, they get more credit than they need because they don't do nothing. Right. They really just hoop and holler and try to motivate. So if your church didn't have some fun in it, I didn't want to be there.
Right.
So she, as she goes to Beulah Heights and she listens to Pastor Shepherd or whatever his name is, she meets a boyfriend, finally. Because my mama was not trying to have a man, at least that we could see. You know what I mean? Right. She was that type of mom. And so she meets a guy, his name is Jeremiah. So when I say that, what I'm saying is he was the bridge to us getting into the word. Really? Yeah. So Jeremiah, who done kind of lost some marbles since then, but Jeremiah, them got a hold to a church called the NCCI down in Atlanta.
Oh, okay. Now, where was your mom at this time? She was in Stone Mountain?
Yeah, she was in Stone Mountain still.
Okay.
Right. And when she got a hold to the NCCI, I remember because I came home and she was telling me about these Israelites. So I was telling a story yesterday to a young girl, how hip-hop saved my life. And when she started telling me about these Israelites, I said, oh, I know we Israel. Karis one taught me that. You see what I'm saying? He had a song when I was like 13. And in that song, he breaks down Genesis chapter 10. He breaks down Abraham, Isaac. So I believed that then. Because prior to that, I thought Jesus was Arab. I never thought he was white. Because in my house, we were told he wasn't white. You dig what I'm saying? Because how is he white being an Israelite from the Middle East? They're not white. So, I mean, even though we know now that them not there. Right. Right, but you know what I'm saying, and it's funny because when you start talking about how did I get into the truth, my whole life structure was geared toward me getting into the truth, which leads you to the point where the Lord says none of His will He lose. Like from day one, when you born, you gonna be His or not, and if you His, the journey will exist, and He won't lose you.
Right.
And so when people ask, well, how did you get into the truth? Because people ask that. It's like, well, where do we really want to start? You want to know when I got exposed to Israel, the Church of Jesus, or when did I get exposed to the truth? Because I got exposed to the truth.
It's like a process.
Right. I got exposed. Really, I got exposed to the truth from day one. You dig what I'm saying? Because the truth was the Bible. And that's what I got exposed to. I remember being 7 years old. I read the whole book of Revelation. I ain't know nothing. I mean, I remember reading. I was on my top bunk. I shared a room with my brother. We had bunk beds, and I sat up there every night until I finished reading it.
Right.
So I was exposed to the truth long ago, so that when the truth started hitting me,
it started lining up.
Right. Every time it would hit me. So now going back closer to the present. So she goes to the NCCI, and we Israel, and that's great, and I'm with it. I'm like, okay, cool. And you're supposed to go to church on Saturday, and you're not supposed to eat pork, and I'm like, well, okay, you showed me in the Bible, I'm with it. And so, she sent me some scriptures. I'm like, okay, I got you. So I'm living my life, because you got to think, it's people in the world who don't go to church, but when they go to church, they go on Sunday. And so I just looked at it, okay, when I'm ready to go to church, I'll just go where she going. So, just that simple. So I come home one time, and she invites me to go to church, and it's like a Wednesday Bible study. And when I get there, I got to take my shoes off.
Right.
Not going to work for me.
That's how it works.
Not going to work for me. I have to take my shoes off at your house. I don't like that. I don't like taking my shoes off once I leave the house. But it's cool. I take them off at your house, by all means. And you're going to take them off when you get to mine. Yeah. But I definitely don't want to take them off when I'm going to church.
Right. Because
the ground is holy. No, we're not. We're in a computer warehouse. What are you talking about?
That's what he said.
Because the ground was holy. Well,
separate you and all that.
Well, the computer
warehouse.
So
you knew that was weird.
Yeah. So I never went back there.
Oh, wow.
But the computer warehouse was actually owned by Jezreel.
Okay, wait a minute. Okay, so the computer warehouse is that where NCCI was?
Because Jezreel was a part of the NCCI too, and I'm using that name, and I'm saying that name because that is the Israel of God start in Atlanta.
Okay,
the Israel of God is the church that I'm affiliated with to us.
Okay,
right.
Okay, so how did Jeremiah do it? Jeremiah, who your mother was seeing, he led y'all to
the NCCI.
Your mom NCCI?
Exactly.
Is that
right? He led my mom. He helped my mom discover the truth. They really got to the NCCI together. But he was vital, to a woman searching.
Okay.
And you got a confidant that's searching with you. And it's like, oh yeah, that's it. Yeah, that's it. Okay. You know what I mean?
Like a guide in a sense.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? And, he's picking it up quicker, so we thought. You know what I'm saying? Like getting it quicker, getting it faster, that type of thing. Okay. So, that's where they were.
Okay.
And then, like I said, when I went to the NCCI, I was like, I ain't doing that.
What did you do afterwards? Once you went there and saw that, okay, this ain't going to be it.
Right. I believe the Bible. That's it. I just believe the Bible.
Right. So from that point, right, from not going back there, and it more than likely, IOG wasn't even in existence at that time.
No.
So what happened? Did your mom keep going on the journey, and you just kind of did it from, on your own time at school, reading and trying to study until y'all finally figured it out?
Not at all.
What happened?
I went back to doing my thing. You know what I mean? And but I believed what she was on. But cool.
You just wasn't satisfied.
I wasn't doing that.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like I would now, I remember us having Bible conversations at college, and I'm like, well, you can't read that to me. I ain't buying what you saying. Like I remember saying that to people. You know what I mean? So, but I wasn't reading nothing. I was still just doing my thing. But what ended up happening at the NCCI is they got a hold to some Bowie tapes, cassette tapes back then. And once they got a hold to those cassette tapes, they called up Bowie, and the rest is history. Here come the Israel of God to Atlanta.
Well, who got a hold of Bowie tapes?
Actually, Jezreel.
Now, Jezreel
owned that warehouse and was one of the people that was at the NCCI as well.
Okay.
And we talking 95.
So how did he tie back to, was it just like a tape? he got a hold.
So actually, the teacher at the NCCI at the time, Yaakov, he's dead now. Yeah. Uh-huh. He actually from Chicago, and the way he started his church was from the Israel of God. Uh-huh. He left Chicago with a few Four Winds of Heaven books, and he moved to Atlanta chasing some woman. And once he got there, he didn't get that woman. He got another woman, and basically she was Jehovah's Witness, but he bringing Israelite to her, and so from there they started a church, the NCCI.
Oh, okay, so that's how that came about.
Right.
Now,
so that's
Jezreel got it. Right. Hold us some tapes
from Yaakov. Right.
So now where do we go from there?
So Jezreel and them passed the tapes around to the rest of the, his little crew of people.
Now, what warehouse are you talking about?
The warehouse was off of Ponce.
Was located?
Yeah, it was off of Ponce de Leon at the time in Atlanta, just off the beaten path.
So clearly, that's not holy.
No, man, stop it. Nothing was holy about any place that the Israel of God or the NCCI was. Right. Trust me.
So now,
you want to know one of the spots the Israel of God was in Atlanta? Just on another note, at an old Chinese food restaurant.
Oh wow.
Where they was on the news for selling cats.
Oh really?
Yep. Right around the corner. When they was on Memorial Drive, and when they was on the corner building, that's where the Chinese restaurant was.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so I mean, I'm just saying, ain't none of them
unholy.
Ain't nothing around here. Unless you're in Jerusalem, it ain't holy. I'm sorry, and it's practically unholy over there right now.
Right. Mm-hmm. So now Jezreel got these tapes, right?
Right. Mm-hmm.
So now where do we go from here?
All right. So now they call up Bowie, and they like, we want you to come down here to the same warehouse. And so, of course, basically, it was a takeover. You know what I mean? Israel, once Bowie came, Israel guys started coming. So this is around 96. It's early 96, late 95. I'm away at college. I ain't really studying what's going on. But then my mother, once the Israel guy came, started sending me literature and tapes. Now, the tapes, I would just tape over them. Straight up, I would put Tupac. I put Tupac on it, Goody Mob, Scarface. And I'm naming these names because I said, once again, hip-hop saved my life. And it did. And I just say that because I want people to understand, because it has such a bad, the propaganda behind hip-hop is so bad and negative. Right. But it wasn't for me.
At a point, it wasn't where it is now.
From self-destruction and KRS-One to your Tupacs and your Goody Mob, I had a more conscious, thought-provoking music that was influencing me while I was out there in the streets doing my stupid stuff.
Right.
So it was always, and I grew up in church, so it was always a connection thanks to hip hop. You see what I'm saying? Right. So at any rate, going back to the, that scene, so I'm taping over the tapes. I taped over some good Bowie lessons, I'm sure, Danny and all them, but I was getting the literature. And so in 96, me and my wife together, we got an apartment. She's cleaning up, and she's like, what do I need to do with all this literature? Like, what I need to do is, so I'm like, well, hand it to me. Yes, I was in the bathroom. If those who don't know me, that is where I get a lot of reading time in. It is, because don't nobody bother you in there, you know what I mean? And so I was probably in there. My typical time in the bathroom is an hour, so if you're in my house, good luck. You know what I mean? But really though, so I was in the bathroom, and I was just sitting there probably reading something else. So I'm like, go ahead, you can bring it in here. So she bring me a whole stack of papers. And so I remember picking up the first paper, and it said, Consider Christmas. And I read it, and as I'm reading it, it had a verse on there. So I called my wife and say, hey, you'll hand me my Bible. So she finds my Bible. So I go in there and I'm reading, and I'm like, dang. So Christmas is pagan, huh? Just that simple. It's like, well, I ain't doing Christmas no more. Now, my mother had already stopped the year before, and I thought that was the worst Christmas ever. So it was like, it ain't no big deal. So that means no Christmas 96 for me, even though I really didn't celebrate it in 95 either, because my mom had stopped. Right. So then I started going through some more. The next one said, why the King James? So then I look at my Bible. I had a new King James. We need a new Bible. You know what I'm saying? Like that, because I read that and I'm like, oh, I need a new Bible. This ain't gonna work. So now, since I need a new Bible, I call my mom. I'm like, yeah, Mom, been checking out this literature, whatever. By this time, she had moved to Chicago, take a job. She took a job up there, of course, because she knew that there was a church up there. You know what I'm saying? She took a job, and Elijah had just started his church. So it was like about the middle of 96 when she might have moved up there. She might have moved, somewhere in 96. And this is around maybe October 96. When I'm getting this literature. And so, October, because I remember always saying, It was 2 months in 96. Yep. So it was October, and I was reading this literature, and then I call her, and so she calls Elijah. It's back when phone calls, long distance calls cost money. And so she got Elijah on the phone for me, and shoot, I would say the rest is history. But really, once I talked to Elijah, I was more and more intrigued, and started reading my Bible, reading all the literature. And she was like, so her and my cousin Nehemiah, she was like, well, I'm gonna be there because y'all can't celebrate Valentine's Day, but I'm gonna come down during Valentine's Day to come and talk to y'all. So I'm like, cool. So her and Nehemiah come, and they hadn't been in the Word even. Nehemiah hadn't been in the Word 6 months, and she might have been dealing with it from the NCCI, but still, so she might have been a year, maybe.
Now this is your cousin, your second cousin.
Yes, which is her first cousin. Right. Yeah. Okay. And so they come down.
They both come to Albany.
Yep.
Wow.
And they come down to try to preach the gospel to us. It was effective enough for me to say, okay. You know what I mean? Like, okay, I'm with it. Like, I won't do Christmas. I'd already said I wasn't going to do it, but I mean, I won't do Valentine's Day. I didn't care. I mean, I had spent no money. So, you know what I mean? That's how I really looked at it. But I'm doing these things because I know that they're wrong in the Bible, but I'm not necessarily trying to serve God yet. You know what I mean? Like, I'm still doing whatever. I'm just cutting out all the other stuff. Muslims don't eat pork, but they do all kind of stuff. You know what I mean? So it's not a big deal for me not to eat pork too. I just be like the Muslims, whatever. You know, I'm not really in the truth yet, even though I'm guiding myself there at this time, but I'm not living it yet. I'm learning it and I'm seeing it. And so 97 feast, March, April, my mom flies me up to Chicago where she is. And if the feast is on a Wednesday, this might've been Monday night, you know what I mean? And she took me over to Brother Elijah's house. And I remember, because she was telling me I had to get baptized again. I'm like, no, I got baptized back in 1983. You know what I'm saying? And why do I got to get baptized again? Well, you got baptized wrong. I'm like, what you mean? I mean, they put me in the water. I got a certificate. How I get baptized wrong? And so she's like, oh, but don't worry about it. We're going to let the brother talk to you. I was like, I don't care what he's going to say, but you know what I mean? I'm not getting baptized again. That just doesn't make sense to me. You know what I mean? Like, you get it done one time. I didn't know people who did it twice. I do now, even in the Bible. Right. So, so when I get there, and it's funny because when I get there, you know, I'm like, yeah, man, show me in the Bible that I got to get baptized again, right? This Jake takes me to Proverbs. There's nothing about the baptism in Proverbs, but you know what's in there? Shut up and be quiet.
You feisty, I guess.
I mean, you know.
Like, you got to prove this to me, right?
There you go.
Right.
You got to show me. You know what I'm saying? So rule number 1, shut up and be quiet. So I believe the Bible. He didn't tell me to shut up and be quiet.
He just read something.
He just read, yeah. It was just like, okay. Because if people had told me, bro, listen to me, I would have been like, dude, this is finna work. But when you read it, I'm like, all right, I'm going to do what the book say. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not going to sit here and argue with this man. He just showed me this and I ain't know it was here. So why would I argue that? You know what I mean? Right. And then he began to show me.
That's cold, dog.
Yeah, bruh.
That's cold.
Bruh, I'm in this man's living room. Like, he don't look like, you got to realize this the pastor at the time.
Right.
His crib looked poorer than my crib. You know what I'm saying? And he looked like he get up and go to work every day like everybody else. But he had a truck driver uniform on. You dig what I'm saying? Like, you know, you ain't special. Yet you bringing this book like this. I was like, what else in there? You know what I mean? And you know Elijah, man, he can go. So we might have did about a 4-hour session. By the end of that, I was like, all right, I'm gonna get baptized. Wow. You know what I mean? Wow. And I went to the feast that year. That was my first feast.
Okay.
And when I went to that, I came back and was like, baby, we keeping the Sabbath now. You know what I mean? I was like, I don't know nothing else, but we keeping the Sabbath. You know what I'm saying? So we start keeping the Sabbath, like ghetto style, I would say. Because we would stop gambling. That was one thing, because I used to run a gambling house, so we would gamble every night of the week, you know what I'm saying? So it was like, okay, we ain't gonna do that on Friday night, you know what I mean? And, you know, we wouldn't work on Saturday, but that was really it, you know what I mean? Right. But we would read. And I would read a lot, you know what I'm saying? I would read, but I didn't know what to read. I didn't really know what to do, you know what I mean? But I still had literature. I was getting tapes. So I was starting to listen to them. I was starting to catch on. and then Pentecost hit. And Pentecost was the one. So when Pentecost came, she flew me back to Chicago to keep the next feast. And that's when I had all my questions. Yeah, at first I didn't really have a lot of questions because I didn't know what questions to have. But then once I went back for Pentecost, that's when I had all my questions. And I was telling, we was just talking, me and Elijah, we was talking about this earlier today, how we riding down the street and I'm asking him questions. And we on the freeway in Chicago where this is the first time I ever seen tolls. I had never seen this many cars on the road. And this guy is reaching in behind the seat trying to grab his Bible to answer the question. And I'm like, dude, you crazy? You drive 90 miles per hour reaching in the back seat for your Bible. I get it, you know. And he ride down the freeway answering my questions. All that was just like, how do you do this? Never seen anything like that. You know what I mean? And like we rolled around that whole weekend. You know, we kicked it. And the whole time I was learning the Bible, but just to see a regular guy able to do the Bible the way he was, I was like, I got to start studying. And so from there, that's my first time I started reading the Bible.
Right. So that would start your journey, right? Yeah.
And he sent me back with a packet of all his lessons. And I remember calling him, like I say, phone calls are 5 cents a minute. He would let me call him collect. You dig what I'm saying? Yeah. Wow. You know what I'm saying? He would let me call him collect whenever I wanted to. Whenever. For hours. I never understood. Like, I would be on the phone with an hour for him thinking, dude, you're paying for this. You know what I'm saying? But you still going. I'm not mad. I'm like, this is what I want. But still, you're paying for this.
Right.
But
so now you in, right?
Yeah, I'm basically in.
Now you in.
Yeah.
So of course what comes with you coming into the truth. And that's definitely a great story, man. You know, just being able to hear how you as a teacher, you know what I'm saying, will introduce, you know, to the Word of God and being able to sit in front of one of the greatest teachers alive, you know what I'm saying? So to hear that, man, it's definitely amazing, man. But at the same time, you know what come with that, right? You know, a lot of struggle and obstacles gonna come with it. So what did you kind of run into?
Well, shoot. You know, I
gave up the gambling house.
Yeah, and that hurt me because that was my money. Right. So I became very poor. I remember from August, as I was reading the whole Bible, to December, I remember doing 18 hours worth of reading every day because I didn't have no life no more. I had got so poor that I had resorted to eating. You know how you go to Marshall's or TJ Maxx and they be selling as decoration, they'll sell like popcorn and it might be like in a jar. They might have some beans in a jar. Somebody had gave me that. I don't know how. I ate all that. Nobody ever eats that. That's how, because I had got so low at that time and I was young. So it's like, you know what I mean? Like now I could probably figure it out better how to survive. But at the time, you know, it was get it how you live. You know, the only thing we was doing was able to pay the rent really. So it was
it's almost like the Lord was showing you, I'm gonna give you some manna, you know, to show you man don't live
by bread alone.
Right.
Bro.
Right. Wow.
Bro, that is, yeah. That's what I learned then. But that word was feeding me though.
That's
and I was.
Were you going through like any, what's the name? Like, did you have any, you know, at that point, were you having any, I guess, conflict with friends and family? Because you were already, you and your mom, and of course your wife, Sister Raquel. Yeah. You know, y'all operating as one. You already got Nehemiah.
I didn't have much problem with my family. She did.
Right. Oh, is that right?
You did? Like she had more problem with the family because she got into the word first. She running. I'm away from my whole family. So I'm not hit by them. You know what I mean? But I lost all my friends. You know what I mean? Like when I say that, I didn't even really lose them. I just cut everybody off.
Right.
I mean, I would go bring the book to you, and if you didn't want it, then you wasn't my friend no more. Right? And it wasn't that you wasn't my friend anymore, because some of those people, I'm still some of those people, a few of them are still my I would say friend to this day. You know what I'm saying? A couple. I could name 2. I could say from that era, or no, not 2, 3, because one of those brothers actually still go to class now. Nehemiah. Down in the Slim them is what I call him. Right. Yeah, he
definitely does.
He got in the word. I wasn't even talking to him. I was talking to his roommate. I ain't even like him. To be honest, I was, I'm like, I mean, we was cool, but I mean, he was my least favorite over everybody that was over there at the time. Oh no, that man was in my wedding, so by all means, that's my brother. But I'm saying at that moment, and he was the one. Oh, don't put my Bible on the floor. Like, it's just a book, bro. You know, so I was always like, dude, you suspect. You know what I'm saying? But I cut off everybody.
That's the one that stayed around.
That's crazy, right? Yeah. Still around to this day. And man, that brings me joy to see that too. Yeah, you know what absolutely. I mean? Just knowing like, and that's one thing I learned, like when you need somebody and you ask God for somebody, He'll give it to you. Yeah. And that's what, because that brother he was, as much as I helped him, he helped me, because doing this walk, especially early in it, is difficult by yourself. Yeah. And I had somebody else to keep the Sabbath with. Right. He came to my house every Saturday. And we kept the Sabbath. Or I went to get him. I think we had a car. He didn't. It didn't matter. Every Saturday he was there, and we would either listen to a tape, or I called Elijah and asked him, could I do his lessons? Right. So I started teaching really.
Elijah's lessons.
Yeah, because he sent them all to me. Right. So I started teaching really way back then. You see what I'm saying? So that's how I got to where I am now, because pretty much from day one I was teaching, even though I didn't know what the heck I was talking about. You dig what I'm saying? It was a try. That's what it was. It was a try. But when you try and you fail, you know what I mean? And then now you got more questions to ask. Right. All that. Like, really, Elijah knew what he was doing. You dig what I'm saying? Yeah, like that. He knew what he was doing. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So he definitely, fed me.
Well, now that you start to take this journey, right? Everybody for the most part, when you find the right doctrine, you're gonna run into that. Lose some friends here and there, sometimes family members. That's just a sign of being in the word. Yeah. But back to hip hop. Yeah. Hip hop saving your life. And I think, man, that right there is such a great statement. You know what I'm saying? Because most people, nowadays we look down on hip hop for what it has become. So, but just going back to KRS-One, right? Yeah. KRS-One, I'm very familiar with that song. You know what I'm saying?
Why is that?
Yeah, because right, that's why is that? Exactly. So you don't pay attention to it back then. It's almost like during that era when we heard it, we didn't have enough to back it up, right? Right. So now here it is. Yeah, you see it, but now here it is. You come into the word, and one of the key pictures or the key segments or one of the things that make the most that's in the Bible, very prevalent, is about being Israel. So now you in the word, you find out about Israel. How does that help you with the Bible? And also tying back to what you heard with KRS-One.
Well, really, when I heard it with KRS-One, and then you say, well, we Israel, KRS-One already told me that. You know what I mean? Now, you read Deuteronomy 28. I mean, that's icing on the cake. Right. Because KRS-One didn't quote that. He quoted Genesis. You know what I mean? Right. He went where I needed him to go. Because he broke down what I knew. See, meaning I knew that Noah had 3 sons. And I knew that Ham was cursed. You see what I'm saying? And I knew that we were Ham. I was wrong, but I knew that. You dig what I'm saying? But then when he said it, I was like, wait a minute, Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, but they come from Shem? And they black? I'm like, so all black people not Ham, huh? You know what I mean? That's what I really got once I got in the word. Well, once I heard him, and then really once I heard him, but it didn't really resonate until the word came back. Like, because the word wasn't strong enough for me then to put the connection together. Right. But the lyrics to his song, I could quote them to you now. They stayed in my head the whole time. Right. So when I get into the word, it's like, and it's funny because that's the no-brainer part. And the no-brainer part is the part that got me, which is, okay, I believe that. So when you say we Israel, I'm like, bet. You know what I mean? And then even like, as I'm getting into the word and I'm listening to Goody Mob, you know what I'm saying? Come and get your soul food. You know what I'm saying? And, just think, The Coming. They had a song called The Coming. Like, you talking 95. I'm literally getting in the word right now. And they really talking book to me, which, by the way, one of the members from Goody Mob end up going to the NCCI later.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I ended up meeting him, Cujo.
Yeah.
I ended up meeting Cujo. We was arguing the day I met him, but still.
Yeah, I be reaching out. You know he preaching now.
Oh, I can believe that.
Oh, he preaching at NCCI, man.
Oh, word?
Yeah, he preaching now. I got to send you the videos, man. I been reaching out to him. I hit him up and said, hit him up. Oh, no, you good. I hit him up and told him, you know, why don't you get on one of our songs, man? You know what I'm saying? Because he'd be responding.
He might, though.
So we'll see. I think I gotta make more noise.
Yeah.
I'm gonna make more noise, and then you know how it goes.
But he really might. When I say that, that brother has a humble spirit. Even though, like I said, when we initially met, what you over here for? You know, because I was going to I went over to the NCCI. You see what? And he was there at a Bible study at the time. I don't know if you know Gideon. You might not know Gideon, but Gideon was doing the Bible study. Then him and Danielle and
Gideon was under the guy with the long beard now.
Yeah,
he's kind of orange because he smokes.
Danielle.
So he's under him, right? Gideon got off.
Actually, Gideon was over
him.
Was over there. It was
cold. He didn't start his own.
Then Gideon and then Danielle. Well, Gideon and Danielle did. So
Gideon young, ain't he?
Danielle is. So that might be the one you thinking of.
Okay.
Yeah, Gideon.
One of them around our age.
Yeah, Danielle.
That's Danielle.
Yeah,
he done started his own thing. Kind of talk like, hey, like.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but so yeah, Cujo, he's cool. I wish I could have told him maybe he'd see this video again that you really did help me get into the word, like you really did. Right. You know the things that they were saying. So yeah, like hip hop. I mean, even with Tupac, and that was like my favorite. But you know, he got a song Blasphemy. You know what I mean? Like, and it's like the preacher want me buried. Why? Because I know he a liar. Have you ever seen a crackhead? That's eternal fire. Like I know them lyrics, and then when you read the Bible and they say, you know, because of the lack of knowledge, you know, hell has consumed us. Or, you know, in Isaiah chapter 5, and it's like, oh, I get that now.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying? That's what Pac was saying. So hip hop, even though these boys don't be knowing what the Bible is really saying, but bits and pieces of the truth are always sprinkled. I had a job when I was in college. I was throwing truck tires, and I remember the guy got on the truck, the older guy from us, you know what I'm saying? And me and my partner was on there, and he was like, y'all read the Bible? Like, you know, I'm like, nah, I won't read the Bible. You know, I'm trying to work. He was like, y'all need to start reading Proverbs. Proverbs will tell you everything you need to know about life. See how that's still with me now? Wow. You know what I mean? I mean, just think, as if you know my character, you know, that's like my favorite book because he was right. But all this happened before the word.
Right.
So it was like
niblets being dropped.
But everybody does though. When you really take a big look at it, it's pieces here and there. And if you can really see it, you're like, oh, see that right there sparked the move that, you know, if that didn't happen, I wouldn't be in the word, or that didn't happen, I wouldn't be in the word. Like I said, if my granddad didn't say, that ain't what we believe. Right. See, that taught me to say that. Right. I don't believe what he just said.
Right.
So all those pieces, you know, even, you know, my father and you know, his life, and, you know, just seeing everything that I was able to see and do and be a part. You know, my father saying, you know, the Smiths, they good people. You know what I'm saying? So I trust their religion. You know what I mean? Which brought me to the truth. You know what I'm saying? So therefore, if you wasn't bringing it harder than the Smiths, then you wasn't bringing it. I don't care what church you went to, but Israel Church of Jesus was bringing it way harder than the Smiths. You dig what I'm saying? Right. So everything really brought me to this point.
So you kind of look back and you can see if it was a picture and you were above it, you can see how everything was painted or put together.
Miss Worldly told me, you don't know who that is. Miss Worldly was her name. She was like one of the old ladies at my church growing up. She was like, one day you gonna be a preacher.
Wow.
Like, girl, stop. When I get old, like my granddaddy, I'm gonna start reading the Bible.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like my granddaddy. You know what I'm saying? When I get old.
Right. When you get
I mean, real old. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So I mean, but all of that.
I'm gonna have some fun first, right?
Exactly. Right. Exactly. And if I get on my deathbed, I'm gonna repent.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, all of that though. You know what I'm saying? Got me to this point.
To where you are now.
Exactly.
Well, how can you say? What do you say? You know, the word being a part of your life, how do you feel it has impacted your life? Now, you've been in the Word for 24, 25 years, man. And like I said yesterday, I brag about that when I talk to people. Yeah. You know, because it's like I said, it's an honor for me.
Pretty much all of my adult life.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So you've been living this way for a long time. So if you can remember back to, and even all the way to now, because it still changes your life every day.
Absolutely.
But how has it impacted you?
It took knowledge that I had. Cause I was. They told me I was a genius at one point. I never believed that. You know what I'm saying? How somebody that's not a genius gonna tell you a genius? That never makes sense to me. You know what I'm saying?
You're smarter than them.
You're right. You know what I'm saying? But it took that knowledge
Genius,
that I was getting.
Genius.
Yeah. All that knowledge that all the history and encyclopedias my granddaddy had me copying out of, and it took all of that and it gave it a purpose. So that now that I'm in the Word, I'm talking when I first get in the Word, like all the stuff that I was getting taught made more sense to me then. And on top of that, not only did it make more sense, but now it's giving me a sense of direction in life, like a purpose.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Something, because really, when I'm getting in the Word, I was running track in college, and I pulled my muscles, and I'm tired. Like I'm tired of, for 3 years in a row, I done pulled my muscles. You know what I'm saying? And I'm good. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, I'm not gonna do this no more. So what else then? Like your whole, as you preteen or growing up as a kid, it's sports. My dad played football and baseball. He got drafted to the Pittsburgh Pirates before Vietnam. You dig what I'm saying? And picked by the Cleveland Browns. How about that? Yeah, I know, right? Crazy.
Hey, he was good.
He was. I Googled his name one time. He still got records in the record books at Kentucky Western or some place like that. But it gave it all a sense of purpose and direction now on where to go and how to apply all this stuff. It gave me a way to now live my life. You know what I mean? Like I got something to do now. I got something to live for. Right. It gave me a level of morals and integrity. You know what I'm saying? And then really, also, it just matured me as a man.
Right.
Because again, I was like, I'm basically 21, 22 years old, and I was grown. I grew up a little quick. I grew up in a fast place. Right. So, it wasn't like I didn't have an experience. I had plenty. You know what I'm saying? I was doing stuff I had no business doing. But at this point, it was like it settled me down. Right. And it prevented me from killing myself. And when I say it prevented me from killing myself, I don't mean suicide. Right. I'm saying it kept me from the path that I was going out there in them streets. Right. You know what I'm saying? Because I was really at the crossroad. I had began selling weed. You know what I'm saying? Like at the same time period. You know what I'm saying? I'm running a gambling house. You dig what I'm saying? Like I mean, that wasn't safe. Right. I'm just saying that's man. I mean, I remember somebody telling me, like, "Oh, you gonna bring that money back?" And my partner, he like, "When you gonna go up there and get it?" You know what I'm saying? Like, that's a threat. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's what. So I'm living in that type of world. So what the Word did really, it put me on the path that I wasn't gonna kill myself getting out here in these streets like that. And that's why I said it gave me a level of integrity, man. That
Okay. What about and we're wrapping up here. What advice did you have for new people coming into the Word?
Man, real talk. Go get it, man. Get your own. Go in there, read it, read it. Keep reading and don't stop reading. Get that stuff in your brain to where it becomes a part of your brain, where it's a part of your thinking. It's a part of your conscious. That's number one. Number two. Don't worry about what other people do. I don't care if it's the man that told you. I got baptized by two people, Elijah and Shem. They both got in the water and baptized me. Right. Elijah, still my teacher to this day. Shem, our last conversation before he died, respectfully, I had to be like, you eat pork now?
Shem recently died,
Yep. Respectfully, because I'm going to have respect for my elders. I was taught that as a kid too, you know what I mean? And in the Bible, really. Right. And so he still was my elder. I don't care that you tripping. He was tripping, floating Sabbaths, all this weird stuff.
When did he die?
About maybe 2 years ago.
Okay.
Maybe, about 2 years, maybe right before COVID, I think. Or maybe during COVID, but he had cancer real bad, you know what I mean? And, during COVID. Wow. And it was sad. I mean, when I say it was sad, I mean, I'm associated with a lot of people in life. So just because you ain't on the same page with me biblically no more, doesn't mean I hate you or anything like that. You know what I'm saying? So I didn't want to see him suffer through life or anything. And I was happy to hear from him, even though he was tripping. But the point I'm getting at and all that is, you can't trust man with this. Right. It's the word of God that you looking at. And the Lord uses men. You can't use nothing else to convey the message to you. Right. So you got to listen to somebody. But it's the word that you want. You want the Bible. Do not follow these people, because they'll send you to hell. People make mistakes, and they'll have you off your rocker. Well, that's pretty much the advice I would give. Is read your Bible.
Let me ask you something, man.
And pray.
Yeah, well, that's great. Definitely.
Talk to Jesus.
Right.
How you gonna have a friend you don't talk to?
Right. All right, so with all these different religions floating around, what impact do you think a better understanding of the Bible will have on people around the world?
Well, the book say one Lord, one faith, one baptism. I mean, if we could live the way the Bible would live, we would call that a utopia. Right. You know what I'm saying? That's what that, when I remember when I learned the word utopia. And once I got into the word and I began to read the Bible, I began to understand what a utopia is. It's what Jesus is bringing back when he set up his kingdom. Right. So with that being said, he gonna set up his kingdom on earth. See, that's all stuff I didn't know that was in the Bible. And so when you say, well, what impact will it have on the rest of the world? Basically, if everybody start picking up Bibles and reading it, man, we wouldn't have all these issues, man. Right. I mean, really, that's just about like all the COVID wouldn't have existed. Yeah. You dig what I mean? I'm saying the whole world would be. You'll see. Like Goody Mob say, in the end, you'll see. Yeah. Yeah. That's what CeeLo said. Yeah. I'm so happy we made it. Yeah. That's the name. That's the song. The last song of the first album. I knew one day we would. All these years of struggling were never understood. Now my eyes are open and I can clearly see we ain't dying for nothing, because we are finally free. Wow. Yeah. Yeah. Hip hop saved my life, bro.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Well, we down to the last part of the interview, and you probably have several. But you gotta give me one. Gotta give me one, and it's what's your favorite book and your scripture, and tell us why.
Favorite book, Proverbs, hands down. Proverbs, real quick, man. Anything you need to know about the psyche of mankind, the way we think. If you need to judge a situation, if you need to analyze people, it's in Proverbs. Nowhere else. It's in Proverbs. Right. It'll tell you from the proud to the humble. It's there. Right. So Proverbs is my favorite book. My favorite scripture is the whole Bible. No, Matthew chapter 7, 13 and 14. Enter ye in at the straight gate. For wide is the gate and broad is the way that leadeth to destruction, and many be that go in thereat. And then it turn around and say, but narrow is the way that leadeth into life, and few be that find it. Right. And that's the first scripture that I remember reading in the truth. That's the first one. Matthew chapter 7, 13 and 14. Wow.
Well, man, it's been a great interview.
It's been an honor, bro.
And I definitely, and the feeling is definitely mutual.
Man, praise the Lord.
I want to thank you, man, for all that you do for the Word of God.
Oh, man.
For all the saints out here, man. All the labor that you put in the vineyard. Thank you for helping me. I told my wife a few weeks ago.
Good, YG? Yeah. Yep, much respect, though. So,
there's two people I'm indebted to. I feel I'm indebted to the rest of my life. And you and Brother Lives. So thank you, man. Thank you, man.
Man, thank you, my brother.
Absolutely.
Thank you.